All right, everybody, my name is Steve Gumm. I'm the founder of Drop In Local and the new Drop In Local reviewability platform as well, which we're all excited about. But the purpose of this particular webinar today is to go over basically the marketing process. So for years, a lot of you that have worked with me directly or have heard me speak or, encountered somebody on my team, you realize that we are hyper-focused on the individual processes that make people more money, that make businesses work and function and make more money, because it is a process, it's not an event. In other words, you don't just send something out and hope magic happens, right? And so we created a blueprint years ago, and actually over the last 6 years, this has kind of evolved in a number of different ways. But we developed what we consider a perfectly well-oiled sales and marketing engine. In other words, if you have all of these pieces to the puzzle together, you will receive the highest ROI possible for whatever it is that you're doing. And for every component part that you're missing, that ROI starts to drop a little bit, okay? So the key thing here, though, to understand is that don't think of the whole thing. I'm going to touch on these briefly throughout this webinar, but if you walk away with this webinar with just one idea, or just open your eyes to opportunities that possibly could significantly boost your business and make you more money, then I've done my job here. So in other words, as we're going through this, I want you just to think of one aspect, right? Maybe it's generating leads. Maybe it's a lead capture component. Maybe it's delivering a wow factor. Just pick one and improve it and then move on to the next. Like, a lot of small businesses don't have the capabilities or the budget to, hire somebody like I used to do and go in and overhaul everything, right? So don't be overwhelmed by the number of factors, but be excited about how you can make a difference in these individually, because the smallest improvements can make huge impacts for your business. And a great analogy here is like a recipe, right? When you look at what the difference is between a phenomenal chef, where you go into the restaurant, and this here you see Graham Elliott, the guy's amazing. But why does his pasta, for example, taste better than yours? And usually it's just these little tiny things, right? I mean, it's an extra dash of salt or something that you're missing. If you're making cookies, for example, and you were to compare that to like the marketing process that I'm sharing with you here, it's like to create the perfect cookie, right? You've got all of these ingredients. This is before you could just, slide them into an oven and bing, they're done, right? When you had to add eggs and flour and sugar and all that stuff. It's like if you remove one element or have half of the amount that you needed, it could be disastrous, right? And so when it comes to your marketing and your sales, that process, it's really the same thing. There's a perfect ingredient way to produce like a phenomenal finished product, and any deviation from that is going to limit the impact and the finished product that you come up with. So when you think of the local market, customers really want to know a couple things, but most importantly, they want to know what makes you different. And how do I know that makes you different? Because when you think of, your local market or consumers, there's this broad market, right? And there's all these businesses. I don't want to pick on any trade, let's say dentists, painters, sushi place, it doesn't matter. So what you're looking at here, all of these different locations, let's say that these were dentists, okay? So I need a dentist, there's hundreds of them, within a certain radius. And then there's you. And the question is, why should I care? Like, what makes you different? And once you hang that shingle, and there's a lot of differentiators going on inside that building, maybe it's the decor, maybe it's the way you treat customers, maybe it's your process, maybe it's your education, maybe it's the way that your team is trained, maybe it's the environment, the waiting room, right, for parents and kids. What is that, and how do people know it? Because most people do not know that, right? It's assumed, hey, I'm a dentist, I'm whatever, and people are going to come. But that's just not the case. So how do you shine? Okay, and so when you look at what most companies do, They do some type of marketing. It's direct mail, it's search engine marketing, meaning pay-per-click advertising. Maybe it's print in the yellow pages, newspapers, magazines, what have you. Let's just call it the attention getter, right? So most businesses, this is how it works. They take an advertisement in any form, and there's, again, buying advertising is easy, making it work is an entirely different animal. But they'll take an advertisement, and the idea is this. They basically send out that advertisement in some form or fashion. It reaches a customer comes in to buy, and you deliver the product or service as expected. Or nowadays, maybe they go to a website, they check you out a little bit, assuming you're doing your job there, they come in and buy, and again, you deliver your product or service. This is really what I have called the roulette wheel. Okay, in other words, all of these businesses are doing exactly the same thing. They all look exactly the same, and they all get a small little piece of the pie. In other words, if you're spending X amount of dollars, you get one marker, one little section on the roulette wheel. If you're spending twice as much as everybody else, you get two sections, things like that. And it spins around, and depending on the time of day, the specific moment that you catch somebody, like my tooth is hurting, I go online, I type in toothache, and you show up, bam, you got me. You won that roulette spin. Tomorrow it may be your competitor. But there's no difference. There's no differentiator. There's nothing that why should I care? Everyone has become commoditized. Okay, so it's this roulette wheel of money, and every small business, for the most part, tries to play the game and get just enough to make it make sense and survive. Very few are actually thriving and growing predictably and in remarkable ways. Very few are worth talking about. And that's really where the everything comes to play, right? Be exciting, be worth talking about, shine in the marketplace. It's not that hard to do. So what you're looking at right now is a perfect sales and marketing engine as we define it today. This has actually changed a little bit over the years, so I'm sure it'll change as we progress in years to come. But this is exactly all of the components. If you had me come in and said, Steve, put together, I want my marketing and sales engine to work amazing behind the scenes, automated. These are all of the elements that we would look at, make sure that they were a part of your communication process, and make sure that each one of them was as strong and efficient as possible, and preferably automated. Okay, now what I want to show you though is what most companies run on. So if you think of this as like a finely tuned auto engine, what you're looking at right now, this would be all the components that you need to make it go. Okay, now this is what most companies run on and try to succeed and excel and profit and make money on. Most of them try to generate leads, just like I just showed you. They send out some type of advertisement in any number of forms, and they want that to turn into a customer. They want to convert it. So send it out, someone comes in and they buy. And again, that's the roulette wheel. And again, if you're good at what you do, and we have to make the assumption, you would then deliver on your promise. In a lot of cases, that's not even the case, right? We love our customers, we're great, blah, blah, blah. People come in and it's the exact opposite, right? Our food's great and maybe it's not so great. So again, generating leads and converting, and if you're delivering on your promise, that's bonus, okay? Quick note for those of you that have heard me go through this or have met with me or consulted with me before, for the sake of time on this webinar, because this is already going to be longer than most people can tolerate, for the sake of time, I'm just not going to go into every element. So those of you that haven't heard this before or are new to this, there's so many different things that impact each and every component, from who is your target who is your target audience, the quality and power of your headlines, a value exchange of some sort or a reason to stay connected with you, your follow-up program. These are all things that we'll go into in future webinars. I don't want you to think about this, but those of you that are watching this that are like, hey, why aren't we talking about headlines, Steve? We don't have the time to go into each and every one of those. But for everybody listening here, every component that I showed you can be fine-tuned and improved on an ongoing basis. Let's just leave it at that. And there's a number of ways to do that. So for today, let's look at, and I'm not picking on anyone here. I just grabbed these because it's kind of easy to do. It made putting this together kind of simple. These 3 ads came in one direct mail package to my house the other day. Okay. And I'm not picking on anybody because every market is the same. You can do this in any category almost across the board and without fail. All right. So here's 3 dentists. And this was right when school was back in session. So look at them. And what I want you to tell me is what's different between these 3. What's remarkable about somebody? Is there any one of these that is buzzworthy, is doing something remarkable? Maybe, right? Maybe internally, but in terms of the advertising, absolutely not. In other words, I could change the name of the practice. We could shift the names around on each one of these ads, and no one would be any wiser, right? It could be the exact same thing. It doesn't matter. It's in essence, what these ads say is, we have a dentist office in your area. We clean teeth. And then, it was back to school, so everybody has their kids in the picture and blah, 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 right? So this is really what I'm talking about is the roulette wheel. And if you go into Yellow Pages, it's the same thing. If you go on Google, it's the same thing. I mean, take a look at this, guys. So I did a search for dentist in Naperville. And this is kind of, again, going into that area that we're not going to dive into very heavily here. But headlines, like little components are huge, okay? But I guess what I want you to do is think of the roulette wheel and think to yourself, who stands out here? Like, who's different? Who's buzzworthy? Who do you know in this market? Who's remarkable, right? And when you look at it on face value, each one of these businesses is trying to position themselves to get the business. So they're paying for it, right? And assuming that you're not, again, if you think of it as the roulette wheel, they're getting more slots because they're going to get more of those calls. But when you look at these comparatively, they're all the same, right? Naperville Dentist, Dentist of Naperville. Naperville Dentistry, Naperville Dental Office, Dentist of Naperville. Great Naperville Dentist, Dentistry Naperville. Like, this could all be the same exact company, It's just amazing, like the little differences that make a huge impact. So everybody is out there doing the exact same thing. And now I will guarantee you, I haven't checked all of these. Out of respect, I just didn't want to cost these people money, so I didn't click on them. But I am betting, I would be willing to bet almost anything that these all go to home pages or those very generic profile pages that are given to them by random companies. And again, there's no thought as to the communication process or how that end user is interacting or what they need or want. It's like, we're a dentist, click, you go to the homepage. The homepage says we're a dentist and we do all these 80 different things, right? What I'm trying to tell you guys do is it's easy to get out of this. Get out of that game and stand out. It's just not very difficult to do, especially with everything at your disposal today. You've got to keep in mind when it comes to your pocketbook, advertising is very, very easy to buy. Google will take as much money as you're willing to give them, and you don't need an agency or anybody else to do that. You can go online today and give Google $10,000, and by the end of the week, it'll be gone, right? You can give tons of money to an agency, to a print company, you name it. Buying advertising and advertising is simple. Making it work is an entirely different animal. And this is where the large majority of small local businesses go wrong. They're out there buying advertising, but they're not making it work. And no one else is helping them make it work, right? So let's look at kind of the steps. So again, open your mind here and let's start to brainstorm a little bit. What do you want to be known for? What do you want to be known for? Is it the least expensive? Think Walmart. Is it the cheapest? Is it the most high end? Is it the experience? Is it a specific niche within an overall market? Maybe as a dentist, it's kids. As a painter, it's a specific type of home. Maybe it's a specific neighborhood or market. Like maybe it's telling stories. Like what do you want to be known for? Aside from the category that you're in, start there and always offer value around that. Okay, so when you're generating leads, you need to always be at that core. You need to always be thinking from your core. So let's use an example. Let's use a painting company. And I just made this up, but let's use a painting company. So you start your painting company And the first thing you need to do is attract customers. And there's any number of ways to do this. I remember I had a painting company years ago out of college, and we would flyer door to door. We ran some newspaper ads. This was back before the internet was huge. And anyway, I mean, there's any number of ways to do it. But bottom line is you need to generate some leads. You need to generate some business. So an average painting company ad might look something like, painting company, residential, commercial, great service. There's probably going to be an image of a house. In business X number of years, some coupons, you name it, right? And usually there's just a laundry list of stuff. Exterior, interior, decks, bathrooms, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it just goes on and on, right? It's like if you're in the dentistry field or any field, people want to list like everything that they offer everybody. And then more often than not, there's some type of a discount and yada, yada, yada. So you're on that roulette wheel just trying to get a piece, just trying to say, hey, look, I am in this particular business and use me, and then you get picked a few times, your competitor gets picked a few times, and on it goes, right? But what I would say is, and this is, again, taking a look at just some of the examples that we used previously in terms of being generic. But what I would say is this. Focus on what you want to be known for. And again, this might be a number of different things, right? I mean, your expertise might be in a handful of markets. Now, again, I'm not going to dive really deep into, targeting a niche and things like that. But when it comes to marketing and advertising, the idea is to speak to one segment of your market. So in other words, in dentistry, for example, you might want to speak just to the people that are interested in teeth whitening, because they have different issues than someone that needs their wisdom teeth pulled out or someone that needs dentures, you know what I mean? So it's in terms of focusing in on that market. So I would blow that away and really try to offer some value to a specific market instead. So in other words, in this example, the painting company may want to hone in on their skill with cedar siding and run an ad that's something like the cedar siding oversight that costs this homeowner over $40,000 in the simple 5-point checklist to help you avoid the same mistake. That's a little generic. We're on the fly here, but nonetheless, it's a matter of saying, okay, we're going to focus and make sure that this market knows, for anyone that has a cedar-sided home, that we are the expert. We want to be known as the best at that. Like if they're going to consider anybody, they should never consider just an average painter when they can come and get the service from the experts at cedar siding. Okay, and then you provide value. You show them, hey, look, even if you're not a customer of ours yet, if you have a cedar sided home, we want you to get this checklist that might protect you. Okay, and so the idea here really is to start to build some trust. Not just recognition and blah, 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 but really build some trust as the go-to expert in your market, or to really, build trust with your expertise, your passion for what you do, your skill set, your artistry, the way that you entertain. There's so many different things in every single local business, but you need to find out what that is for you and shine a light on it. Because that's really where you start to build that trust. And that's where you get off of that roulette wheel. Okay, the next thing you want to do is offer a value exchange. Okay, what does that mean? What that means is really give somebody a reason to stay in touch with you. In other words, give them something that says, oh wow, they're gonna share their knowledge with me. I definitely want to stay in touch with this person, right? Because in this example that we're using here, the large majority of people that you reach out to with that advertisement probably are not ready. In fact, over 80% of them are not ready to take action right now. But they will in a year or 2 years or whatever the market is for your specific product, right? So instead of the roulette wheel where you're trying to get those hits, everyone's just trying to get a small piece of the people that are ready to buy right now. The guy who, is going away for work and, his wife points out the rotting cedar on the side of the his house, and then he sees an ad, right? Those people you're going to get anyway, but you want to get the group of people that you can build trust with so that it builds your pipeline exponentially so that when they're ready to buy, there is no shopping around anymore. You've proven yourself to be the best. You've proven yourself as the expert. You've you've shared enough knowledge and experience and value, and they've gotten to know you and all of these different things by the way that you're marketing and promoting your business, that when it comes time to buy, there's no question. So you may be asking yourself, how do you do, or what is a value exchange? Okay. How do you do a value exchange? What is a lead capture? Very simply, there's 100 different ways to do this. The easiest, I think, most effective, highest ROI is leveraging landing pages. So in other words, if you were targeting that market for cedar-sided homes and you had a 5-point checklist that could help them, solve some problems, what you want to do is drive them from that ad to go get that checklist. In order to get that checklist, they've got to give you their name or email, right? So that's called the value exchange. You're going to give them the checklist in exchange for permission to follow up and stay in touch with them, right? Now, when you integrate video, the ROI on this stuff goes through the roof. But even if you don't, the idea is to send them to a page that gives them what you promised them you were going to give them in your advertising. So this could be off of pay-per-click, this could be off of print, this could be a newspaper, you name it. And you can do these for various segments of your market. You can set these up based on the advertising medium and so forth. So what happens is someone clicks on, get the guide here, and they would fill out their information, get it now, and they're in your sales funnel now. You have permission. They've exchanged their information for your knowledge, and now you have permission to follow up. Okay? And that's where the term, nurturing kind of comes into play. Nurturing just means, building a relationship, building more rapport, and instilling more confidence in the prospects. And some of these prospects over time are going to be customers, and you continue to build that confidence, right? And you do that via email, direct mail. Again, there's 100 different ways to do that, but the idea is to stay in front of them, not with sales stuff, not with, hey, here's another discount, here's another discount, here's another discount, but knowledge, more expertise. You know that they downloaded, in this example, information on how to protect their cedar-sided home. So it makes sense that you would continue to provide them with information and knowledge that was relevant to that need, right? You would continue to let them know, hey, winter's coming, here's how to protect it. Summer's coming, here's some things to do to seal it. Maybe you have bee issues. The list goes on and on. But it's about becoming that expert, the absolute expert in the market that fills the need that they have now because of the value exchange, right? Very, very simple and automated, right? I mean, this stuff goes on even while you sleep, but extremely powerful. And if you do your job right, you get to the point of sale, okay? And again, there are going to be that small percentage of people that are going to go from generate leads to convert. And that's fine because, again, win as much of that as you can get, win it all. But we want to make sure that the process is in place so that you don't lose out on the rest. And once you get that sale, high five, applaud it, cheer, do what you got to do. Just make sure that you deliver on that promise. Because nothing is worse than taking all that time and energy to actually get a customer and get their confidence enough to use your business and then fail to deliver on the promise. And this is really where you start to get a lot of the bad reviews online and you just get frustrated consumers, right? Just at a baseline level, you've got to be able to deliver on whatever you promise. So if your service is supposed to be the best, if your place is the cleanest, the fastest, the best experience, whatever it may be, you better be able to at least deliver on what you're promising. That is just kind of at a baseline level. Now, if you want to take it a step further, which you really should, every business, this is one area. If you're confident that you're delivering on your promise, taking it a step further is not very hard to do. It's the little things that leave people talking and bragging about you. It's the unexpected extra little bonus gift at the end, right? It's at the end of a meal when the waiter comes out and says, you know what, this dessert is on us. And you think, wow, that was so nice. It's the extra gimme in the box that arrives at your house. It's the thank you note that arrives in the mail that's handwritten by the sales rep. These little things really take it up a notch and make people go, that was a remarkable business. Wow, they really care. and to brainstorm on this and think about different ways that you can wow your customers. It doesn't have to be expensive, right? Get creative, be unexpected with it, and have a lot of fun with it. But as soon as you get someone and you deliver on the product that you've promised them, how can you really wow them? How can you leave them with some type of experience, the unexpected thing that makes them go and tell somebody else, like, you won't believe what this company did? Because it's unusual, right? People want to talk about that. And it can just go a long, long way. And then you want to take it the next step. If you've done your job, you've delivered, you've wowed them, ask them to share the experience. This doesn't happen enough. Too many businesses are afraid to ask for the referral or offer something, a small upsell at the end, right? Ask them to share the experience or tell you how you can do better if you've under-delivered. It's important that you let them know that you care and you do it right out of the gate. Let them know, hey, thank you so much. How was your experience? If it was great, please share it. If not, how can we help you? How can we do that better? And that's really where, the drop-in local reviewability platform comes in. You should take a look at that because we make that very, very easy for small local businesses. It's pretty awesome stuff. So again, if you look at the overall perfected engine, at drop-in local, right, we look at each one of these elements and we look at them very, very seriously. Now, depending on your business or the type of client, sometimes we're focusing on one element or another. A lot of times it's, generating leads and capturing leads, building a sales funnel. Other times it's the full engine. But nonetheless, we look at each one of these and how to differentiate and integrate some of the things that we, discussed earlier, such as headlines and body copy and, differentiation and target markets. But we always leverage landing pages and video with everything that we do because it provides a very human touch. Like when you're generating leads or you're teaching people, like the example of the cedar-sided homes. When people land on that page, if there's video there to thank them for coming there and introducing them to the business and walking them through, the cedar-sided homes, and showcasing your work or actually walking them through visually how to apply the 5 tips that you're giving them. This is so powerful because it really enables you to take this customer hand in hand, even when you're asleep or on vacation or what have you. Your best efforts, your best information, your best teaching, your knowledge is out there and available 24/7, 365, and it's integrated into your overall marketing approach. So when you're pushing out communication and trying to get more customers, it just enables you to really build a much, much deeper connection. It's extremely powerful stuff. Now let's take a look at every step in the process, right? What I want you guys to do here is really just think through. Again, don't be overwhelmed. Let's just look at every single step in our process here and ask yourself if there are ways that you can make small improvements, right? So generating leads. Are we targeting the right audience? That's a big problem sometimes. Maybe your advertising is going out to the wrong audience, or maybe you're being too broad, right? Instead of focusing on the very profitable market within your market. Because the language that you put out there, right? Let's say that you are a dentist. The language that you put out there to target someone who is looking for teeth whitening is quite different than the language that you would put out there to get the attention and communicate with somebody who needs dentures, right? Or braces or things of that nature. So really the target is huge. Are we being daring enough to be talked about? Are our headlines different? You remember those slides that we talked about where we went through Google and we went to yellowpages.com and showed you some of the print that I received at my house, how it all looked exactly the same. Are your advertisements, is your communication different? Does it speak to your core values? Does it really elicit the things that make you so great? How are we gaining attention? And is there a better way to do this? So just step back and think about that. Take a step back with your team or yourself, if that's the case. Just say, how are we generating leads? Is there a better way to do it? Building trust. Do people know how passionate you are? Do they know your story? Are you sharing your knowledge and providing value in advance? Or are you just saying, hey, this is the type of business I am, here's a discount? You know what I mean? Do you have testimonials and reviews? Is there stuff that you are putting out there that enables you to build more trust. And a lot of times, I hate the term, it just got old, I guess, but, content creation, content's king, blah, blah, blah. But it really is in any context, right? It sounds very foo-fooey in terms of marketing and this whole, evolution that has occurred. However, content is really just what's inside your head, right? What you can put out there and share with the world. So that is king, because no one cares about like what you do. You know what I mean? Like no one cares that you have a car wash or a dental practice or, a paint company or a construction company, whatever it might be. They care about why you do what you do and the specifics of your craft and the passion behind it and the people and the stories, right? These are things that they want to connect with. You're never going to really build a connection with anybody saying, here's what we do and here's a price. Then you become a commodity that is just an afterthought. So you need to sit back and think, how are we building trust? And don't make the assumption that you're building it because you have a business, right? This is one of those things, so many businesses just think, I hang a shingle, so to speak, and internally, because you have meetings and you do this stuff day in and day out, how great you are and all the specifics of your attention to detail and your story and how you got there. And so a lot of times you take it for granted that the public at large has no idea about these things, even though those are the things that really build trust and create, tremendous connections. So think about that. Or how are we building trust? Are we capturing leads? Are you building an ongoing pipeline of new leads, right? Are you using smart landing pages? Are you using landing pages at all? And if not, do you have some way for people to give you their information to follow up when they're not yet a customer, right? Is there anything that enables somebody or incentivizes somebody to give you their information saying, hey, I'm not ready now, but I'm a customer in the future. Stay in touch with me, right? And is there a reason to stay in touch with us? You got to ask that. Like, why would someone want us to stay in touch with them? Just because we are the type of business that we are? Is it because we're going to throw a bunch of discounts at them? Is it our knowledge because they need to stay in touch with us? Like, share with them. Give them a reason to stay in touch with you. And if you can't think of any reason, right, why would anyone want to stay in touch with us? That's something to consider. Do we make it easy for people to share their information with us? How easy is that? If I want to give you my information and I want you to follow up with me, or I want to get some of your knowledge in exchange for that, is it easy? And how are we building a pipeline of prospects? Like, how are you building that communication pipeline? Do you know the people in your market that are interested in what you do, and how are you going about it? And a lot of times no one even is building a pipeline. It's kind of like filled when needed. It's not an evolution. It's not something that behind the scenes that's just being filled, but it's so easy to do. So how are you capturing leads? And really consider that. Consider all of these things. Nurturing. Are we continuing to share knowledge, right? Once you have the information or you have people captured, and captures, I keep saying that, and in my head, I don't like the word. I might have to change it at some point. But when you are connecting with people, right, and you've done a value exchange, are you continuing to share knowledge? Are you being helpful? Are you building more credibility and trust, or are you just throwing deals at them? Are you just trying to sell them? Are you just trying to close them with every touch? Close, buy, here's a discount. Or are you showing them why, irregardless of price, they should be using your business? Are you nurturing your prospects? And when you're nurturing them, are you positioning yourself as a leader in the market for that particular niche within your broad market, right? Are you positioning yourself as a leader? And how? How are you doing that? Convert, of course, you get a sale. Now, are you delivering on the promise? And this is something really where, again, drop-in local reviewability can help you out a lot here because it's seamless and it's automated. But irregardless, you should really be pushing out feedback requests to every single customer. You need to make sure from the customer's standpoint that you are indeed delivering on your promise and that they believe that you're delivering on that promise. Do you have a process and system in place to make the experience consistent? And these are little things, right? If you've ever been to like a Chick-fil-A, I know it gets a little annoying and, whatever you think of Chick-fil-A, it doesn't matter. But they always say, my pleasure. You'll notice that. Everybody on the staff says, my pleasure. And why is that? Because they have a process in place. It's consistent. They have made it very predictable. When a customer wants something, their team doesn't say, yeah, sure, I got that. Oh, yeah, it's good. No, they say, it's my pleasure. Because that's how they roll. That's how they deliver on their promise every single time. You're never going to go in there and have somebody say, sure, man, that's good. I got that. No, that wouldn't be, then things become unpredictable. So they deliver on that customer service promise by making sure that everybody on their team is very consistent with the process. And they say, my pleasure, like crazy. Are we over-delivering or under-delivering? Right? If I come in for an oil change or a teeth cleaning or having my house remodeled or, whatever it may be, come for legal advice, are you delivering on that or are you over-delivering? Right? If I come in to you, let's say you're an attorney, I come in for some legal advice. Are you giving me that legal advice and then sitting me down about a cost kind of consultation? Or are you sharing your best knowledge and leaving me there with some type of package that has everything I would need to know to do my homework? And, there's studies and, Q&As, frequently asked questions, everything that would really help me where I walk out of there and go, wow, those guys are incredible. They really, really want to help me. That's amazing. That's above and beyond. I was not expecting that. And you can do that in every single business with very small things, very small thank yous. Right? It always fascinates me, like when you go in for an auto repair or even a simple oil change, how easy it would be to leave something in the car, some type of gesture, almost like, at hotels, how they leave like the mint in the pillow on the bed or something like that. Or if you have a house cleaning company, I've always wondered, how cool would it be? The people take pictures galore on these Disney cruises because of what they do with the towels. They make them into like different animals, like I don't know what you'd call it, towel origami, I guess. And, when you have a house cleaning service, how cool would that be? If every time your team left there, they did something that was just like unexpected wow. Something very just extra that enabled people to talk about it and brag about it and all that. I mean, just are you delivering on the promise and are you over-delivering? And I just addressed this. So, but the wow factor. But do we do anything that's unexpected? Is there anything buzzworthy? How do you interact with customers before, during, and after a transaction? Right? What would make someone say, "Wow, that is really, really cool"? And this is fun brainstorming. Like the wow factor is the fun part of business, because even if you miss everything else, like I said, you don't need to touch on all of these and be perfect on all of these. A lot of businesses, it takes time. It takes evaluation. It's just unrealistic for a lot of entrepreneurs to touch on all of these. So I keep reiterating this, but don't be overwhelmed by all of this. But if you think that you're good at what you do and you fairly consistently deliver on promise, let's say, right? And your engine only consisted of trying to generate leads and convert. Well, then just take a step back and say, how can I do a wow factor? What little thing could I leave behind when I'm done delivering that would maybe create some buzz or make them say, wow, that was amazing. And that's fun stuff. It's easy to do. And it's a very simple way to step out from your competition, because very few businesses actually leave you with that wow factor. Upsells and referrals. This is huge. Like you can increase your revenue so much just by capitalizing on this. So do you make it easy for customers to leave reviews, testimonials, and or refer you to others? And again, if you don't, I highly recommend you reach out to us about drop-in local reviewability, because it kicks butt. It really does. But you've got to ask yourself, how are we doing this? And don't make it unpredictable. It should be a seamless system within the organization. Not, hey, guys, make sure that you ask after the sale or blah, blah, blah. Integrate it into your communication process with your customers. Integrate it into everything that you do, right? Is there anything that you can offer as a simple does that say upsell? Jeez. It should be upsell. Is there anything we could offer as a simple upsell at the point of transaction? So again, this is the gum in the aisle. And I'm not saying like try to get more money out of people, but usually if you have something that's high margin and you've already closed a sale, just ask yourself, would it be very easy to add something like, hey, would you like us to, let's say you've got a paint company, you're doing the interior. Maybe it's easy. I'm guessing here. we're just brainstorming, but to clean the windows, right? Maybe that's fairly easy to do. Hey, we're going to be in your house. Looks like your windows need cleaned. Would you like those cleaned as well? It's a small fee, right? Easy way to increase your revenue. And that's why, companies like McDonald's and all that say, do you want it supersized? Because you've already bought, and they're like, hey, another 50 cents, well, that adds up. So anyway, these are things that you can do. And how are you communicating immediately after the experience? And again, I hate to keep reiterating drop-in local reviewability, but it's the best. But you have to have a method of communicating immediately after the experience. So as soon as someone does the transaction with you, what happens? And I just want you to think about your own life for a little bit here, because it's important to consider. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to dinners, expensive dinners, right? Or had someone come out and quote me on something very, very expensive in my house. I mean, just recently, I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, but I had someone come in for a home theater system. And, it wasn't cheap. It wasn't overly expensive. But anyway, it was a lot of money. And he quoted me, great guy. We had a long conversation, young entrepreneur. It was really interesting stuff. And he left. And he emailed me the quote, right? And I haven't heard back from him. And it's been like 2 weeks. So it's like, that's simply because he's too busy, right? I mean, he's caught up in his business. There's no system to actually, touch me. There's no predictability to follow up and remind me. So it really just is a matter of, at each step of the process, before, during, and after, how are you communicating with that customer? After you guys come in there thinking about you, or you're nurturing them, how are you following up? Are you following up at all? After they actually give you money, are you continuing to follow up? I can't tell you how many times, the list goes on and on for anybody. You can think about it. I had a patio put in my backyard, and it was again, these are not cheap projects, and they did an amazing job. This was just an incredible crew. I think I've referred them like 2 of my neighbors. I have not received anything from that company related to follow up. This has been about 3 years now. Nothing about, hey, do you need another project done? Do you have a neighbor or someone else that could use our process? Here's some new innovations in patios. Here's an addition that you might want at this point. Nothing. It's crazy. So you really need to look at how you follow up with existing customers, how you follow up with prospects, et cetera, and make it seamless, make it predictable, and amazing things will happen. So I want you guys just to think about every step in the process and think about how you can make it better. And if time and resources are limited, again, working on one area is better than working on none. So you don't need to knock out all of this. You don't have to have a perfectly well-oiled and efficient sales and marketing engine. Now, if you do, your business is going to explode. But if you don't, just improving one area. Again, think of what we've been talking about here with regard to wow factor, upsells and referrals, and some of the things that businesses aren't doing. And just by doing those things, just in those areas, how you become different, how you become a trusted advisor in the marketplace. It's not difficult, but it definitely takes some thought process and some working through to put it all into motion. But you can definitely do it. So don't worry about the whole thing. Maybe pick one that's more fun, like wow factors, or ask your team, how are we, building trust, or, how do we have a way to build a pipeline? Are we capturing leads? Things like this, and work through it. And I'm telling you guys, absolutely amazing things will happen if you start to work on the little components of your business that make a big, big difference. So I hope that was helpful. In future webinars, I'm probably going to dive into each one of these categories, like in depth. And I'll also go into headlines and a lot of things that I've done in the past. So it will be fun. Stay in touch. I really appreciate your time. I hope you become a customer. We'd love to work with you. Drop in local video SEO, video marketing, and we do it extremely well. Anyone can shoot video. It's like advertising, right? Anyone can kind of do it. Making it work and putting it into a strategy that integrates with your marketing, your communication, and makes it easy for you is a different animal, but we're very, very good at it. And if you're looking for reviews and testimonials, again, reviewability is awesome. So give us a shout on that and we will help you out. We're here to champion small businesses. I love you guys. I know what you're going through. I know the daily fight. And anything that we can do to help you guys reach, whatever goals you're trying to strive to reach, we're here for you. And my name is Steve Gumm. I am the founder of Drop In Local, and I just want to say thank you.